Today on Softeller Tech Briefs, we're walking through a complete guide to IT staff augmentation services. What the model is, why it became so widely used, its advantages and risks, the main types and service options, and how to put it into practice. Enterprises in today's IT industry face constant pressure to stay agile. New technologies and methods appear regularly and gain rapid adoption in service and product delivery. For development teams that want to keep pace, there is often a need to adopt these capabilities quickly. Doing that requires substantial manpower, developers, programmers, and other specialists that businesses may not have readily available. That is where staff augmentation comes in, helping companies reshape and expand their talent so they can respond to variable project demands. So, what exactly is staff augmentation? Today, we'll explore its importance, implications, models, and more. Defining staff augmentation. Staff augmentation is an outsourcing strategy used by IT companies during software development projects to strengthen in-house teams in areas where internal capabilities fall short. This employment model supplies seasoned technical personnel to organizations ranging from startups to large enterprises, typically for the duration of a development project. Service providers screen and recruit the required developers and engineers. As a result, the client organization is largely released from employer responsibilities related to employee costs, benefits, or additional compensation. Why staff augmentation is so popular in the IT industry? Contract staffing has existed for a long time, but specialized service providers recruiting skilled IT workers gained real traction around the internet boom, when technological initiatives began advancing at extraordinary speed. To keep up, IT firms adopted staff augmentation as a model that challenged traditional employment norms. It has remained relevant primarily because of its flexibility. In a sector where project scopes change quickly, augmentation lets businesses add specific skill sets for defined periods without long-term employment commitments. Vendors also reduce the burden of hiring and administering full-time employees for project managers. With the growth of remote work, companies can now access professionals from around the world and integrate them into existing teams. Pros of IT staff augmentation. Staff augmentation is one of the most popular outsourcing models in IT, but it is not the only option, and it is not ideal in every situation. With that in mind, let's look at the main advantages and challenges. Quick access to specialized technical skills. One reason project managers find the model attractive is the quality and range of personnel available through staffing partners. Providers can offer access to professionals across software development, including programmers, DevOps specialists, business analysts, database analysts, and quality assurance experts, making it easier to secure the capabilities a project needs. Cost-effective scaling. Companies starting new software work can avoid much of the overhead of permanent hiring. They identify the specialized skills required and compensate developers for their project contribution. That arrangement can reduce labor expense for the hiring company while giving professionals flexibility to work across clients. Knowledge sharing. When internal teams work closely with augmented staff over time, both sides often exchange useful practices. That transfer can strengthen in-house technical capabilities, including in areas where the permanent team previously had limited depth. Gaining a wider viewpoint. Temporary specialists bring experience from diverse projects and industries. Those perspectives can suggest product improvements or more efficient ways of managing work, and that can matter especially when teams encounter new challenges mid-project. Cons of IT staff augmentation. Quality control concerns. One common challenge is consistency. Even when providers rate talent highly, maintaining uniform technical standards across team members can be difficult. People may be used to different methodologies, and that variation can affect project outcomes. Management and integration challenges. On projects that require significant input from both outsourced and in-house staff, integration can take extra effort. Project managers may need to bring new members up to speed on workflows, support collaboration with the existing team, and establish strong communication so remote contributors stay aligned with current developments. Potential for vendor dependency. Relying too heavily on augmentation for specialized skills that are critical to operations can create overdependency. That can limit the company's ability to build lasting in-house capability and hurt productivity over time. Confidentiality and security risk. Working with temporary employees means exposing sensitive work more broadly. Service agreements usually include protections for proprietary information, but as more people join a project, the risk of confidentiality leaks and security incidents increases. Types of IT staff augmentation. Organizations planning an augmentation program need to understand the main frameworks providers use. Each suits different levels of complexity, commitment, and talent need. Skill-based augmentation. This is the most common type in IT and other tech-intensive industries. The focus is hiring people with expertise that is not well provisioned in-house, often to fill specific skill gaps or introduce new technologies. For example, if a company is adopting blockchain or artificial intelligence, skill-based augmentation can bring in specialists who already work with those capabilities. Project-based augmentation. Here, companies bring in an augmented group to support a project with a defined timeline. That group may include project managers, software developers, business analysts, or senior engineers working toward a shared outcome. This approach fits initiatives that are too complex or resource-intensive for the internal team alone, and it lets organizations move into new work without pulling core members away from primary responsibilities. Short-term versus long-term augmentation. Both skill-based and project-based approaches can be short-term or long-term. Short-term augmentation helps fill interim vacancies or expand capacity at peak workload. Long-term augmentation is more continuous, supporting sustained development initiatives. That distinction helps enterprises align workforce planning with project pipelines. Onshore, nearshore, and offshore augmentation. This categorization is geographic. Onshore sources talent within the same country as the client, which usually means smoother collaboration because language, time zone, and work culture barriers are limited, though cost is typically higher. Nearshore balances cost and proximity by hiring from nearby countries with similar time zones and cultural affinities. Offshore often sources talent from lower-cost countries farther away. That can deliver the strongest cost savings, but it also creates integration challenges around remote work, time zones, and cultural differences. Types of IT staff augmentation services. Beyond those frameworks, businesses also choose among service delivery models based on objectives, budgets, and development processes. Dedicated teams. In this model, a provider assembles a team of developers, programmers, engineers, or managers to work exclusively on a client project. These teams typically operate as an extension of the client's IT workforce and suit long-term initiatives that need expertise across multiple technology areas. Organizations can scale without compromising continuity because team members are contracted specifically to that work. Individual contributors. Some projects need only one or two highly specialized people. In those cases, building a full team is unnecessary. Individual contributors fill targeted gaps, are often easier to onboard, and can provide a fast response to immediate needs. Managed IT services. This model customizes entire projects or business functions and assigns them to a managed services provider. It offers a more hands-off approach, allowing in-house teams to focus on core activity, while the provider handles work such as software development or cybersecurity, including team management and delivery outcomes. Consultancy and advisory services. Many augmentation companies also offer advisory support to help IT firms identify needs and shape strategies. That can be useful for organizations pursuing digital transformation without enough internal insight to prioritize where to improve. Reasons to choose IT staff. Augmentation services. Flexibility and cost control are central reasons companies use augmentation. Beyond that, several scenarios make it an especially strong fit. Unique initiatives. Specialized work outside the organization's core expertise is a clear use case. For example, building custom software, creating a mobile application from scratch, overhauling cybersecurity processes, or running a machine learning pilot that needs temporary specialist skills. Seasonal demands. Flexible staffing helps companies in industries with large seasonal swings, such as retail, tourism, and accounting. Maintaining a permanently larger workforce year-round to cover vacations, tax season, or summer peaks is often not financially sensible. Augmented personnel can scale capacity as needed. Exploring new initiatives. Whether testing new offerings, entering new markets, or taking on meaningful business risk, augmentation lets firms explore without long-term hiring commitments. If a product or expansion effort fails, they can avoid costly restructuring. Flexibility continues until feasibility is clearer. Unexpected job openings. Instead of rushing permanent replacements after resignations or absences, augmentation can bridge the gap. That gives organizations time to evaluate skill fit carefully and integrate the strongest permanent candidates later. Factors to consider when choosing a staff augmentation model. Project scope. Scale and project structure strongly influence model selection. That is why multiple augmentation approaches exist. Smaller companies on short initiatives may benefit from a typical augmentation approach, while larger firms on complex programs may get more value from a dedicated team. Ease of integration. Onboarding and collaboration are critical. Assess how well augmented professionals can work with the in-house development team, and vet newcomers thoroughly so they have the skills required for their roles. Budget. Cost matters when choosing a model. Traditional employment is often more expensive than augmentation, but pricing varies by agency. Compare total expenses against the cost of hiring full-time staff before committing. Technical requirements. The seniority and proficiency needed also shape both the model and the agency. Some firms focus on junior roles, while others specialize in senior developers and engineers. How staff augmentation compares to other models of outsourcing. Staff augmentation is often confused with related outsourcing approaches. Here is how it differs. Staff augmentation versus professional services. Professional services is a comprehensive model where companies hand over full project management responsibility for complex, long-term work to a provider. Staff augmentation, by contrast, supplements the workforce with external expertise based on project demand. Augmentation firms generally do not take full ownership of project delivery. They focus on managing their people and the contribution those people make to an ongoing initiative. Staff augmentation versus consultancy services. Consultancy provides expert guidance on strategy and problem solving. Consultants assess operations, identify improvement areas, and recommend approaches. While some augmentation firms offer limited advisory input early on, that is not their core offering. Consultants typically are not embedded in day-to-day execution. Augmented staff are. Staff augmentation versus managed services. In managed services, enterprises entrust functions such as IT support or payroll to an external provider. Unlike staff augmentation, where the client usually retains control of teams and project direction, managed services often means giving up a substantial share of control in exchange for time to focus on core strategy. Staff augmentation versus individual contractors. Independent contractors offer skills directly on a project or contract basis without a third-party provider. That model shares some flexibility with augmentation, but it usually lacks the same oversight and team integration. The client still handles administration, such as payroll and project tooling, work that staff augmentation providers often manage. Steps of the IT staff augmentation process. When IT firms engage providers, much of the hiring work, interviews, CV reviews, and related screening falls to the vendor. Processes vary, but they typically follow a pattern like this. Assessing project requirements. Early on, the provider consults with team leads to evaluate scope and identify where extra capacity is needed. That creates a clear view of objectives and milestones for both the provider and incoming talent. Finding the right tech talent. The provider compiles and interviews candidates, then submits recommended profiles, CVs, and portfolios for client review. Talent onboarding and integration. Once the client is satisfied, the provider, or sometimes in-house project managers, onboards people onto the project. This stage matters because it aligns pace, expectations, and participation across the team. Continuous maintenance and support. Strong firms do not stop at onboarding. They keep communication open and continue providing tools, guidance, and administrative support throughout the project lifecycle as new members adapt to the environment. Tips for effective IT staff. Augmentation, knowing the benefits, risks, models, and process is useful, but a few practices help ensure the approach works in practice. Define the project's requirements. Before engaging, build a clear view of what success requires. Go beyond technical skills to include duration, expertise level, and the tools that will be used. That clarity reduces ambiguity and delay once augmentation begins. Select a reputable agency. Partnership quality is critical. Look at recruitment process, support services, and labor law compliance. Also, weigh track record and longevity in your domain, plus access to a talent pool large enough to scale when workloads spike. Ensure teams are well integrated. After selection, bring augmented people into the company's ways of working quickly. For remote contributors, set up communication channels and team activities that support collaboration and belonging. Maintain flexibility and scalability. Cost efficiency and scalability are two of the model's biggest advantages. Reassess demand at each stage of development and adjust the team accordingly, scaling down roles that are no longer needed or adding skills as the work evolves. Closing takeaway. Finding the right talent for specific roles at the right time can be difficult in IT, especially when projects only need people for interim periods. Staff augmentation addresses that challenge by sourcing, onboarding, and helping manage talent for resource-constrained teams. Used well, it can reduce hiring overhead while giving companies stronger day-to-day control over project outcomes. If you'd like to learn more about software development, AI, cloud, data engineering, and digital transformation, visit us at softeller.com.